This video has more than meets the eye.
Those were up, and they did.
We're smart, and my... He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new franchise ranking, and this franchise ranking is going to be for a film series about some fighting robots. One that 80s kids are very familiar with and was very popular in the 80s because a new film came out last weekend. And just a little heads up guys, this is only going to be, there's one film I have not seen in this franchise, so this is going to be only for the 6 I have seen. And this franchise is going to be for none other than, of course, Transformers. So, yeah, now that Rise of the Beast is out, we saw Rise of the Beast, it's time to rank the 6 films I saw, and this is only for the ones I've seen, from the worst to the best.
Easily at bottom worst is gonna be Transformers Age of Extinction.
This was the movie that destroyed any interest I had in Transformers, period. I remember when this movie came out, I got invited by a friend to see this film, and I did decide to go to hang out with him. But I had wished that movie choice really should have been How to Train Your Dragon 2 instead of this. Because this movie was so cringe, too loud, too boring to sit through one moment of, and just overly damn long for no reason. Like, first of all, it even has that god-awful Michael Bay humor that we saw in Revenge of the Fallen. It's not funny at all, and there's so much of it so often it just makes you cringe. It's like watching a senile old man running naked on the street, which nobody wants to see. It's sad, it makes you feel uncomfortable, and there's even very gross, uncomfortable, sex-like shots of Tessa, who's supposed to be 14 years old. Then there's even this gag of her boyfriend Shane, who she's in love with, is literally a grown adult. And of course, Mark Wahlberg's character Cade, who's her father, does not approve throughout the movie. And of course, what's worse is Shane even uses this awful excuse to be legally allowed to date her.
So we can work this 2 ways. 1, I punch you right in the mouth and you call the police on me.
Dad.
Or 2, I just call the cops on you because this is illegal. She's a minor.
We're protected by the Romeo and Juliet laws.
You're fucking edgy and cool. Yeah, you're the coolest fucking guy at Shenanigans. Woo! That's like being the smartest kid with Down syndrome. Why aren't you in jail?
Yeah. Yeah. That does not work out. And it does not make me want to enjoy this flick at all. But nothing of that sort happens in this movie. Like, other than none of the Transformers sorts happen in this movie. Like, other than Optimus Prime and Bumblebee, there's just like only 3 other Autobots in the movie. All of whom are new. Not the game we're familiar with. 3 new Autobots. All the ones we're familiar with are dead. They just try to come across as interesting, but you don't really give a damn about any of them. Bumblebee is just so suddenly seen on screen, and you forget he's even there in the movie. And Optimus Prime goes through his usual routine of just getting his ass really kicked in the first half of the movie, then rises again later, something which was a common theme of the other movies before this. This is just why, that's one of the reasons I don't really like this movie at all, or really enjoy this movie version, or not too fan of the movie version of Prime, because he just fails too often, and his wholehearted in combat, it's kind of difficult to take him seriously in the Michael Bay versions. Most of the Michael Bay versions anyways. There's plenty of action sequences in the movie, but in the first half, about 10% of them, and considering the first half is about 90 minutes long, it means you're treated to a lot of talking and other stuff that is just plain stupid or just boring. Like when shit does start hitting the fan later, it's just a bloody loud mess. With so much happening at once and you don't care about anything and none of it is particularly cool or memorable. Age of Extinction was, in the end, The film that really destroyed my interest in this franchise, and knowing how The Last Night apparently was, I thankfully dodged a bullet.
Kicking off in 5th place is going to be the second movie, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen.
When this movie got announced and the trailers were out, I was excited for this in middle school because I was a huge fan of the first film, like everybody was back then, and was just already starting to become a Transformers fan because of that movie. Then the movie came out and it was hated by people, but I didn't know it at the time because back then I was too young to know anything about website reviews or review scores, and I did actually like it at first back then when I was younger, but over the years, yeah, I realized how bad this movie was. Where do we even begin? The story literally begins with Sam moving away to college, leaving both his beautiful girlfriend Michaela, hoping for this good long-distance relationship when he cannot even say he loves her, and his robot protector Bumblebee behind, and with Optimus Prime and the rest of the gang joining forces with the military on a secret operation to exterminate any remaining Decepticons on Earth. And just how secretive an operation could be when on the first 10 minutes of the movie, half the city of Shanghai is destroyed. And then it goes on from there with Sam becoming the only key to finding yet another alien machine left on Earth so very long ago, and then the revival of Megatron to his pursuit of Sam through half the world. Sounds familiar? Well, it should. But rewatching this, I was willing to look past the cliche beginning of the plot in exchange for better development of story. That never came up. And this one clearly wasn't the movie I saw when I was younger. What literally we get here is just some horrendous acting from Shia LaBeouf, and him just going literally apeshit crazy in a classroom, gets kicked out, and some more overuse of plot holes about Sam in general having these symbols in his head and stuff. This girl turning into a transformer, a really elderly aged transformer farting a parachute out of his ass, wheelie, humping and rubbing his ass on Megan Fox's leg, in this new human character named Leo. What's his role in the movie? He never shuts the fuck up. Literally half the movie is him whining like, oh please just let me go home, just let me go home. Like, dude, you need to shut up before I punch you in the face. God. Leo is just this punchable character who you just want to punch because he just never shuts up when he needs to. And has no reason to be in this movie. You even see like Simmons' bare ass in one shot. Oh, and can we forget this infamous scene?
I am directly below. The enemy scrotum.
What's worse is this was written during a writer's strike and had bad production with no delays at all, and the plot holes include finding this key which 5 Autobot Primes died to protect by merely burning in a pile of rocks and turning their bodies into the shrine which housed it. This sacrifice just makes no sense, but Michael Bay just needed it in the movie for some weird reason, and for the sake of the final fight, all the other Primes to die is that only Optimus Prime be left to kill the Fallen, which only a Prime can kill. It's never explained why nothing else can kill this robot. And when Optimus Prime gets revived, yeah, he literally dies and is not barely even in the movie. In fact, now that I think about it, none of the Transformers really are in this movie. Only thing we get are these 2 racist twins named Skids and Mudflap, who just want to die, and Bumblebee. Most of the movie is just Shia and his crew going around the world, being obnoxious, doing stupid shit, almost getting themselves killed, not thinking their plans through. That's half the movie. And yeah, and more Michael Bay innuendos, which should not be in a Transformers movie at all. And of course, Tony Todd is wasted. You literally have Candyman voicing the Fallen. You have a horror icon voicing one of your Decepticons, your big bad of the movie, and he just gets basically wasted when Optimus Prime comes back, literally just, in a few seconds, take that Fallen, crumples his face, he's dead. The end. That's a lazy, lame final fight. It's just like the 4th directive of RoboCop. I don't know, like this is not a movie you could put a lot of thought into, and it's just not a good sequel.
Kicking off in 4th place is going to be the new kid on the block, Transformers Rise of the Beasts.
Ah, the new guy in the club. This movie is thankfully one every Transformers fan would want to see happen. No Michael Bay involvement, directed by Steven Jr. instead. Has new Autobots and Mirage even being the funniest, and even references to that cartoon Energon. The soundtrack is straight 90s rap, which makes complete sense since the movie's set in the 90s. The tracks work well with the segments of the movie they're featured in, especially one particular moment of LL Cool J's Knock You Out when Bumblebee re-emerges. The CGI is pretty decent, and yeah, And the acting even leaves a lot to be desired from the human characters, especially Anthony Ramos as Noah, who's actually a surprisingly good good human lead. The eye candy didn't exist this time around, but I imagine it was done with for a reason. However, the problem is, you don't care too much for the human protagonists like all the other films in this series. You feel more connection to the younger brother of them, to the two male leads, the brother and Noah, than I really did for the female lead, who was just kind of annoying. Not as annoying as like Leo or something, but she was still kind of annoying. The Transformers are thankfully as entertaining as they should be, and it should be the main draw of the movie. Especially like Mirage. Mirage easily just gets the funniest lines. He's a blast to watch. Optimus Prime Optimus Prime is an even better character here than in the Bay films. He actually gets flaws. He actually gets problems to face, and he doesn't get his ass kicked easily. Here, and you even have the perfect the animal Transformers right here, the Beast Transformers, and even some good voice acting for Peter Dinklage as the main bad Transformer right here. Right here as well. However, there's just one problem. One of the Transformers, Bumblebee, almost gets the Alien 3 treatment, which did kind of bug me a little bit. But thankfully, they subverted the Alien 3 crap and they bought him back. But him just being sidelined for 9% of the film just to leave room for Mirage, it's just kind of a bit of a problem, though. Now, problem with Mirage. Mirage was definitely the best of the Transformers characters, and I hope if they make more Transformers movies, we get to see more of him and Noah's friendship. There were a few good one-liners. Here's the way. But another problem Mirage has is they literally just take him away at the climax, so Noah can don this little made-up Iron Man suit in Transformers form, which just also is kind of a bit of a problem with the climax, because the climax can also be a bit too quick. The finale goes on a little too quickly. And the human characters, just still the biggest problem with this franchise, are just not that interesting. When we want a Transformers movie, we want to see like the Autobots or any threats they have duking it out. We want to see more of the Transformers characters. We want something like that. That's what we want when we see a Transformers movie. Now, the human leads are still decent, though. Much more decent in this movie. But all in all, though, Rise of the Beasts, it's a nice Saturday morning cartoon film. For people who are a Transformers fan, they're definitely going to have a fun time with it.
Kicking off in third place is ironically going to be the third movie, Transformers Dark of the Moon.
Now I'll admit, I was not a fan of this movie when I first saw it in theaters during a visit to Seattle that summer, but after I rewatched it last year, I thought the movie was decent, definitely way better than Revenge of the Fallen. Like, first off, the visual effects are amazing, definitely probably one of the best, if not the best, of the Transformers franchise, both in details on the Transformers and action fighting sequences, and in more general landscape shots. The views of Chicago when it's being attacked by the Decepticons is great. The plot of the movie is decent, actually pretty good enough. It did have a actually tense storyline. Some action scenes in the film are the rewarding part, as you are given tense and extreme battles. The music is pretty well done. The special effects are just awesome and enough to make some people go wow. And you know what's also great for anyone who is a Transformers fan? The Transformers actually in this one get the most screen time. Thank you, finally, one in the base series that actually gets where the Transformers are actually the focus. After two previous movies, we finally get to see the Transformers right here in their glory. They're actually the main focus here. The human character, they're like, okay, maybe nobody's liking these human characters, nobody's liking Sam, so we're just going to push them to the side, give them only a few scenes of focus, make the Transformers the main focus of the movie. That's what we want to have in a Transformers movie. The Transformers being the main characters. This is what the fans wanted to see. The Transformers just battling the Decepticons and triumphing like in the cartoons, not some annoying prick named Sam Witwicky, bragging about how much he's a hero now for saving the world, despite the fact that most of the time he does in Revenge of the Fallen, it's just basically flip out, spaz out, yell, even nearly get shot at, and somehow praised as a hero, despite the fact that most of the Transformers actually do the most work, and the only heroism he really does is in the first one when he pretty much is the one that kills Megatron. Okay, and this also is the best characterization of Optimus Prime in this version, and also Megatron in the film series here. And Sentinel Prime is also an excellent addition right here. And of course, well, I will admit, this movie did actually do a good job providing a decent ending for Transformers. It actually did try to end this Transformers on a decent note where the Decepticons are dead and Optimus and Autobots can call Earth home now. Right there. Which would have been a nice spot to just leave it the fuck alone, reboot it, no reason to continue on with the story. The Decepticons are all dead, Megatron is now dead for good, Optimus and the Autobots won the war, Cybertron is destroyed, Earth's their home now, close the book on the Bay version, move on, do a new version in the future. No. We made Age of Extinction, and then they went and made The Last Night anyway. Because Michael Bay's a greedy fucker! But this movie still has some bad qualities. This does not make the movie great. Because the bad qualities here are still, obviously, Sam Witwicky. God, he just kills these sequels for me. He should have only been in the first film. And also, the beginning of this movie literally has Rosie Huntington-Whiteley walking up the stairs in her underwear. But, honestly, that's probably the one and only Michael Bay-style humor you kind of get in this movie. The rest of this movie is surprisingly pretty clean of Michael Bay humor. There's not nearly as much as Revenge of the Fallen, and to some extent the first film. This movie is actually pretty clean of that humor here. I mean, Mike Bay did promise this movie was going to be better after he saw the results of Revenge, but if he didn't like Revenge so much, why come back and do another one then? Oh well. At least he wrote this one slightly better. So yeah, Dark of the Moon, decent enough stream, but still not a great movie.
Kicking off in second place is going to be the one that started it all, Transformers 2007.
The very first film that started this. When this teaser debuted in 2006, this movie was like the #1 most hyped movie of 2007. Literally, when everyone saw the teaser in the theaters in July 2006, everyone was just fucking hyped and excited that they were going to finally get an actual live-action movie adaptation of Transformers. My whole third grade class was excited. A lot of my tutors were even excited. Just about the whole world was excited for it. Went nuts when they found out there was going to be a film called Transformers actually coming to theaters. It was like Marvel levels of crazy hype. And when the movie came out, everyone was just non-stop going to see it. Probably the most watched film that summer in my area. Everyone was just raving about how much they loved it. Some even kept going back to rewatch it a few more times. They could not believe Mike Bay really pulled off making a Transformers movie succeed. Unfortunately, I didn't end up seeing it in theaters, but once it came out on DVD, family and I rented it from Blockbuster and man. Now, I don't like the sequels, but this is the only film of the Mike Bay series I love and agree with everyone is actually a good movie. This movie does well in showing us and characterizing the Transformers, setting up this potential threat and journey, and making people fans of this series. This movie wastes no time getting right to the incredible robot action we're all hungering for, rushes directly from the credits to eye-popping, rampant robot destruction. What really holds the film together, though, is that even when it's knee-deep in Save the World, all-out brawling the streets, giant freaking robot war, at the core of everything is the simple story. This boy and his first car, for a man, there's few things more powerful than the relationship he has with his first automobile, and it's pretty much action all the way here, and the movie very rarely lets up. It is a touch too long at times, but it never really feels that as much as the sequels do, as though it drags any time. And the acting is pretty good, and don't like Shy's character in the sequels, but here, he does a decent job as Sam Witwicky here. And this is probably the only time I find Sam a tolerably fine protagonist here. Probably the only movie where he's not annoying. And there's even a couple moments too where I am a little worried that things are going to get too cheesy, but the action soon kicks off and again. And there's even some generally funny moments, and the film doesn't even take itself too seriously, because if it took itself seriously, that would have been a big mistake. The direction is crisp, and Michael Bay actually did fine here. You even get some very what's even better with the comedy, you get really entertaining comedy from, of course, Anthony Anderson as Glenn. Like, his just lines are just hilarious to watch. He's just a scene stealer in every scene he's in. Whenever it's literally his first scene or him getting arrested and telling the police to get off his carpets, his grandma's carpet, him eating all the donuts, and him trying to pin the blame on Maggie to avoid going to jail. We should have saw more of him and Maggie because they were the best source of comedy in this series. Only nitpicks are, well, Sam's parents, the Witwickies, they're another problem I forgot to mention when doing this video. And of course, the Transformers don't really get much screen time except for Bumblebee and some Decepticons here. The ones you want to really see, Optimus Prime, Ratchet, Megatron, they just don't really appear till near the climax, and Megatron especially doesn't even appear till the end. Like, Megatron's just played dirty here by not appearing till the finale, which was kind of stupid. But he's the big bad guy. Shouldn't he be introduced throughout most of the movie? Not just like the very ending scene? That's just kind of ridiculous. But all in all, Transformers 2007 was the start to a journey that sadly did not work out well. But it was a great first chapter, and it's still iconic for a lot of 2000s kids.
And without a doubt, the number one best Transformers movie to me is easily 2018's Bumblebee.
So after the bad result of the last night, Transformers was screwed. But then a year later, this movie came out and it quickly repaired the last night's damage and saved the franchise by bringing it to the 80s era, ditching all the doomsday crap in the other movies, and getting in better human characters. What does this film do right where the previous ones failed? It introduces the Autobots on Cybertron and establishes them as people fighting as a struggling resistance, not as CGI puppets who turn humans into computer-rigged dolls whenever they hit them. The plot even borrows elements from the Iron Giant, E.T., and even the original Star Wars, and uses those tropes to make for a familiar yet refreshing experience at the movies. And an actually good live-action Transformers movie, the first since 2007. And the 1980s Cold War backdrop is just perfect for this movie. It is a movie that uses a formula you've all seen before at this point. I am certain about that, but there aren't any real surprises. You can't go in expecting anything groundbreaking. But that's good because this movie isn't aiming to throw out something brand new, just something familiar, skillfully executed, and the chemistry between Charlie and Bumblebee is very terrific and you really feel for their characters. Speaking of Charlie was finally a human lead who belonged in a Transformers movie and had good characterization. This in Spider-Verse really cemented Haley Steinfeld as now one of my favorite actresses. Like, this girl really has a bright future ahead of her, especially after seeing Across the Spider-Verse. And having someone other than Michael Bay as the director turned out great. And it all makes sense here. And Travis Knight really knows how to make a Transformers movie. The action sequences in this one were controlled and very well done. Travis Knight knew what he was doing, unlike Michael Bay, who would just stick to over-the-top and cheesy action without caring about what the audience wants to see. And aside from that, this movie connects emotionally with its audience, and that's something that was unexpected for a Transformers film. I think the only nitpicks are the other Transformers are just not in this movie, even though this is just supposed to be about Bumblebee, but Optimus Prime thankfully still plays a cameo role. I'd be mad if he never appeared in the movie at all. And of course, same with Sam Witwicky's parents. Charlie's parents, and especially her brother, are probably just annoying and awful to sit through because of how they treat Charlie throughout this whole movie. And what's worse is Charlie's mom gets easily forgiven in the end, despite the fact that she treats her daughter like crap most of the time. And her birthday present is that they pretty much give her as this helmet and a book telling her to smile when she's still grieving her dad. That's real nice. Like, yeah. I just don't like watching their scenes. The Transformers movie is not complete without Optimus Prime, but there's no exception here. I mean, we see enough of him here to still be fully satisfied. He's still badass and commands the screen, and surprisingly, even John Cena is in this movie, and he's actually decently enjoyable here. But wisely, like, Optimus' screen time is enough to not distract the movie from the title or character, because we just want to see, like, Bumblebee and stuff, and kind of see this version of how this version of Transformers would come to Earth. So yeah, Bumblebee, still the best movie of this franchise, and I'm glad this one saved it after too many shitty sequels we got from Mike Bay. There we go! that wraps up my review. That wraps up my franchise ranking for the 6 Transformers movies I did watch. I'll give a brief summary as to why I haven't seen it last night. So, when I reviewed the Transformers movies last year in January, I did try to sit through the last night. Tried. And guess what, guys? As soon as the movie started, I quickly shut it off. Yeah, apparently it was that bad. It literally had such a bad opening. I just turned off the movie. And what part did that happen? When Bumblebee just randomly starts repairing himself, despite the fact he couldn't even do that in the other movies. Yeah, so I dodged the bullets, decided, okay, I'm not sitting through this bullshit, and I shut the movie off. Because I'm not going to torture myself watching what apparently is considered to be the worst Transformers movie. And for what I've heard from a lot of my YouTube friends who are Transformers fans much more than I am, I dodged the bullets. Because apparently it does not get better. And you can see why they hate this movie a lot. This is one of the Bay films they really hate, and they really agree with everybody. Just about nobody likes The Last Knight. Nobody. Some may say they like Age of Extinction, but Last Knight, no. They'll totally agree with just about everybody and rip that movie apart with all the Transformers haters. But yeah, that's my ranking for Transformers. I want to know in the comments below how you guys would rank all the movies. And for the ones who have seen The Last Knight as well, feel free to show how you would rank the 7 films. Or if you have not seen The Last Knight, just feel free to say how you would rank the films and what your thoughts on the Transformers movies are anyways. But until then, guys, that'll be it for this franchise ranking. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don Jeep Corleone.